wherever you are, the rest of the world, including, Zambia, welcome to Frank on Camnet. I tell you what, days really fly. It's 100 days since the UPND government took up the reins of this great country called, Zambia. This is a thrust of our interview this evening. My guest is Executive Director of GEARS, a governance institution, and my friend who is at the helm of this important organization is an advocate of good governance. Mcdonald Chipenzi, I welcome you to Frank on Camnet. Good evening. Good evening, Ambassador, and good evening, viewers. Thank you for accommodating me on this platform. I hope you're looking after yourself with now the fears of the fourth wave of COVID and also the new variant. Very scary, not just for Zambia, but for the rest of the world. Indeed, I think time to look after ourselves, myself, yourself, and the other person, it has come. We must be the brothers keepers or sisters keepers. And this is why we really need to appreciate the message around this variant and see whether we will be saving lives and not spreading the disease. And so the 5 golden rules of around COVID must be respected. But at the same time, we must appreciate that democracy requires that we also respect the spaces that people have. At the same time, deconstructing the myths and the theories that are around this disease. Because there are a lot of them. Absolutely. And that's why some people don't want to go and be vaccinated. I've heard some churches saying this is actually the dawn of the mark of the beast. And those who believe in them, they think when you are vaccinated, you have actually captured the beast, the mark of the beast. And they have all those verses that say, in the end days, there will be pestilences, which will be very difficult to heal, and also that there will be a mark of the beast that will not allow you to buy, allow you to visit this, and so on. And these are myths, these are theories that government needs to start deconstructing. And how do we do this? We use the media, we use the civil society, we use the traditional leaders, we engage the church so that they appreciate that this is not the mark of the beast. Actually, this is the salvation of your own life. Absolutely. In any case, if we are Christians, the Bible says to die, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. Why should you be afraid of death because of vaccination? Yeah. I think doesn't work out. Absolutely. So let's be brothers keeper, sisters keeper, by ensuring that we get the vaccine and protect our lives. We'll be talking about the issues, of governance, very shortly. But since this is a very important, subject, Mcdonald, the government has shown seriousness in terms of the guidelines that are facilitated. But having said that, some of these guidelines border on infringement of human rights. What should be the approach? Well, indeed, we feel extremely scared at the rate these measures are coming. It's like we are in a panic mode, and yet we have had this disease from 2019, if I'm not mistaken, around December. And we should have gone flat out to campaign and sensitize the people around this disease. But unfortunately, we seem to have relaxed. And we also politicized this disease, okay? So this is why this disease is not only a health issue, it is also a political issue. One of the reasons PF was hated was because of the way they handled the COVID-19. It was also the way they used COVID-19 to weaponize
the other, to weaponize it so that it knocks off those other players in the democratic space. And we don't want to go to those old and ugly days. What we want is that we are a democracy. Yes, we are aware of derogates, and limitations in the Constitution of our rights and our freedoms. But the best approach is, first of all, educate the masses. The Bible says in Hosea, my people die because of lack of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Now, if people are not educated and you just impose to say whether you like it or not, go and be vaccinated, definitely you will find a repel. And because there is a repel, there will be politics.
Yep.
And because there are politics, you become unpopular. And because you become unpopular, people vote you out. That is not what is supposed to do. So the best approach, Ambassador Mutulira, is that let us engage the people.
Absolutely.
Even when we are saying that no one should access government facility if you are not vaccinated, no one should interview a government officer or indeed go to a government office to get news if you are not vaccinated. We must appreciate the fact that in some cases there are long queues. And if I'm on duty, Ambassador, you are running a radio station, there is a deadline. Imagine I go to a vaccination center and I have a queue, okay, of maybe 20, 30 people. I stand there. You at 12 hours, you need news. What will happen? I will definitely leave that and go and collect news and go to you. So come to you and say, this is what I've done. At that particular time, again, I'm not allowed to access news. So what happens? There will be a lot of joblessness. And when there's a lot of job, you are adding this, you know, you are adding to the high rate of unemployment. So what government should do, for example, if the ministries, like at government complex, all the ministries, most of the ministries are there, put a center there so that people can go there to get vaccinated. You come to cabinet office. It's also a highly, you know, concentrated area with government officers. You put something there so that people from office, they can go. During tea, they can go. So again, you cannot block people before you sensitize them. So the first week, first and second week was supposed to be sensitization week.
Absolutely.
Then thereafter, you hammer.
I agree with you entirely. And the other side to this, Mcdonald, is that one, less than 10% of the population has been vaccinated out of 18 million. The flip side of that, the vaccines that are available can only facilitate maybe 2 million people. Suppose, you know, the response was overwhelming, and then people say, right, we want to be vaccinated. And then they find out the vaccinations are not available. So how do you stop them accessing in certain areas?
Exactly. And that's where now the democratic aspect comes in. Because now you are basically stamping on people's rights. No assembly, association, movement, and so on and so forth. So you are stamping on them. That should not be allowed. What people should have done is that from now up to maybe to December 31st, we expect that the majority of us are vaccinated. After that, like the way she said, there will be more measures coming. So you leave those measures of, you know, restricting people. I went to one of the centers for my vaccination. So when I went there, I wanted J and J, and I was told it's finished. So if you want, you go about 10 kilometers away from where I was. That's where you can. We hear. Actually, they told me we hear there is some doses there. Now imagine if I was walking. I should have walked there. By the time I reached there, it was closing time. So what I said, instead of me going there, I didn't even have enough fuel. So instead of going there, just vaccinate me with that one, which you have to take 2 doses. So vaccinate me. Now, there are those people who have just been vaccinated once. And when you go to these centers, they don't even have those certificates where they say, today you have done this, then you come for the next. They will just give you a piece of paper. Now, that piece of paper who is already vulnerable to manipulation.
Absolutely.
Okay? So government should have put all those measures to ensure that, one, those certificates are also found. So that if I've just taken one dose, I have a certificate. That one dose, but I remain with it, another dose. If you have taken Johnson and Johnson, again, you also have a certificate. But if you go to, even now, today, someone was just showing me what they have gotten. It's just a piece of paper written there. So what guarantee is that those people will not be produced somewhere else and be given to people, and you assume that all of them have been vaccinated, and yet is a manufactured piece of paper.
It's important for the Ministry of Health, and as much as we would like to help you, and we will assist you, ensure that you do your job, logistics in place, and think out of the box. In South Africa, the South African government is giving incentives, $6 to whoever goes for the vaccination. So what I'm saying is that do your job, and we will support you, and we'll also do our job. Right.
Just to add there, that's incentive aspect.
Yeah.
Imagine if government could bring incentives even in the rural area.
Yeah.
Okay? Whoever goes there will get maybe a bag of minimum, or even a fertilizer,
yeah,
or a 5 kg of seed.
Yeah.
I tell you that even those who have indoctrinated by the church,
yeah,
they will go.
Brilliant. Having laid that down, Mcdonald, 100 days in office, before we assess them towards the end, let us look at some of the developments, starting with the appointments, which took lot to be facilitated, and are incomplete up to now. What do you read into this?
Well, with the appointments, definitely they came late, and definitely it's like from an outsider, it's like people who are not ready to start to form government, which also could be understandable. Because when you have not been forming government for 23 years, and this time it will be like a dream, and you continue to have put things in ad hoc measure, but later on when you are finally in there, you start, oh, I think that one doesn't qualify, this one doesn't qualify, and let me assemble another team. So that could be one of the dilemma that the new government faced itself. Secondly is that when you go into there are also systems that you first of all need to appreciate. For example, you have people who were given contracts, maybe in August, 3-year contract, and yet these are key issue people who you need to remove in order for you to operate. Now you have this person with 5-year contract, and if you terminate it, you need to pay them all their benefits up to the 5 years. First, you look at your treasury. Do you have money? You find that you don't have money. So you start now dilly-dallying to find a legal means of having these people go. So sometimes some of these appointments could have been, especially those in the civil service, could have been considered from that angle. From the political ministers, for example, also, these people went into an alliance. Negotiating for who is supposed to be there is not an easy job. And also, others may feel they are disappointed. No, I expected to be Minister of Finance. I was expected to be what? So you have to manage that politics of your alliance partners. And they have to agree, okay, we agree, okay, thank you, you get other jobs. So that is not an easy job, and it's not a one-off thing. Because sometimes you call for a meeting so that you agree. The other person says, no, I'm busy, maybe let's make it next week, and so on and so forth. So on the appointment, from where I stand, I feel that there was a lot of jargons to deal with the systems, to deal with the alliance partner members. But at the end of the day, the president has a final say. If he wanted, he would have bulldozed. Because that alliance, for example, it has no legal mandate. It's just a gentleman's understanding. But you need to respect your friends, what you agreed. So to me, that could be one of the reasons. But at the end of the day, again, is that this government, people expected them to hit the ground running immediately. Okay? So these delays, others are already frustrated. Others thought that immediately they come into power, fertilizer will fall like manna from heaven. But they forget that there's a budget that needs to be looked at. So all those things, and when you look at what perhaps your friends left in terms of money, or because this money that you pay people are corrections from ZRI. Yeah. So imagine, and other taxing, correcting ministries. And you look into there and said, look, the pace is fairly little for me to chase everybody and bring new one. Where am I going to get the money? And the Constitution right now says, if you are chased Ambassador Mtubira today, you'll be on the payroll until your benefits are given in full. Now, imagine giving 2 people 2 salaries. That is already an abuse of resource.
Absolutely. Let's move, systematically, Mcdonald, and start with the permanent secretaries. Again, you can't please everybody. Some people are saying the composition goes to what the president had said, that he won't politicize, the civil service. People are saying there are UPND, active politicians who have been appointed as permanent secretaries. Your take on that?
Ambassador and viewers, one thing that is very clear is that anything that is managed by a politician is political.
Yep.
Any appointment that is done by a politician is a political appointment. This is why you find that permanent secretaries don't outlive their governments. Immediately the government goes, you also go. That in itself is politicization of that office. Now, when you read the Service Commissions Act, it only talks about merits and qualifications and so on and so forth for you to be employed. It doesn't talk about one not being partisan. That is one lacuna in the law. 2, all those people who are appointed, in the first place, we are saying all the civil servants, most of them were PF. And going by the constitution of PF, under Article 3, it was very clear that anyone appointed in these government offices were members of the Patriotic Front, whose agenda was to ensure that the Patriotic Front agenda is achieved.
Right.
Now, if you want to elevate career civil servants, did we have them under the regime? The answer is no.
Absolutely.
So now where do you get them?
Absolutely. Point taken. Having laid that aside, the permanent secretaries, let's move to the district commissioners. The president, again, I'd say it's superfluous to have district commissioners. He's reintroduced them. What has forced him to do this? Is this payback time to political members of the UPND?
Of course, I think that cannot be ruled out. That cannot be ruled out. You understand that we are all, together with the UPND in opposition, that we don't support the existence of the district commissioners. And if we support it, they must be professionalized. We must get people who are qualified. Because we were talking about decentralization. These are the head of the district at that level. And the district, the government is decentralizing to the district level. Now imagine a grade 9, a district commissioner, grade 9, is now heading all these professors at that district level. There will be a mismatch. So what will happen is that they will be more interested in the politics and not in the expertise and the professional aspect of work. So that is where the mismatch was. So we expected that the new Dawn government would have, the way Manawasa had said, I'm professionalizing this, and so whoever wants to be this must have a first degree holder. Okay? To us, that was a good one. And we expected that the new Dawn government would have gone that way. Now, I believe that there were too much pressure from politics. I think you remember that immediately he got into power, cadres started asking for jobs. Okay, we want this, and the others said, no, these are politics. You need politicians. You don't need the experts in what. And then there were also arguments to say, like, in the areas where you don't have MPs. And you don't have councillors, you need a politician to mobilize people. If you take a white-collar man to do your politics, you will not, and you continue losing in that area. So there are those, militating factors. The issue of politics, the issue of professionalism, and then the issue of where do we, cut the balance. When you look at most of these DCs, basically, most of them, they don't qualify to be. They are just political cadres, okay? And as you have put it, it's a payback time. So you are assured that 116 jobs were created out of this. And most of them, if you take a stock, they are people who are holding a political position in the party. And we don't know whether some of them whether all of them have relinquished that, and new ones have taken over their position, or they are still holding on to those positions. Are
you concerned about the quality management that is going to emerge, from these district commissioners?
Yes, a serious one, actually. Very, very serious quality. And what we are likely to see, if we don't manage them properly, we are going back to the PF arrangement, where the district commissioner became a party official who only welcomes the party members and not citizens. And this government was not formed by party members alone. It was created by all citizens. That's why if you go into the register of UPND, for example, and you say, can I have, how many members do you have? There could be less than 1 million.
Absolutely.
But you had 2.8 million. Where did the other 1.8 come from? Or came from? They came from the society. So when you have a DC must understand that all these people voted for us. If they didn't vote for us, they may vote for us in 2026.
In short, the UPND government should be sensitive to these other
exactly. Numbers. Must be very sensitive to the number, the 2.8 million people that voted for it. They must also be sensitive to the 1.8 million that voted for the PF, because some of them have already changed. And they are ready to vote for them in 2026.
Absolutely. Let's come to the number one civil servant, and that is the secretary to the cabinet. There's one who is acting, but nobody is substantive. Because that position needs somebody who has served 15 years as PS. Does the president find himself in a very difficult situation, in a constitutional trap here?
Of course, if there's no one who qualifies, who has served, actually it should be 10 years. Should have served as a PS for 10 years. That's when you can, you remember we raised this issue when Dr. Msiska was appointed. The late, I think he's late now. We raised this issue that
he did not have
it. He didn't have it. And so maybe the current one has that 10 years, we don't know. I haven't looked at his CV. So there's this issue. The other people who could be old enough, when you talk of Sachikas, those are old, and you can't bring them back. So there could be a constitution trap there. There could be a constitution trap here. But if the serving one, he qualifies, the acting one qualifies, there's nothing wrong to validate him. I think this is where now we need to be inclusive. One thing I've seen with civil servants is that they easily change like wind.
Absolutely.
The moment the government changes, even them the language changes. They will start even being so loyal to that government until it goes out. So the issue of suspicions, you say, no, this one could continue to be PF, and so yes, they could have been considered on that account. But they are qualified and they are professionals that you can train. In education, we say that anyone with a degree or from college is trainable. You can train them the way you want them to operate.
Absolutely. All right. Having said that, looking at these appointments, one glaring anomaly a lot of people have raised, including the president of a New Heritage Party, who is a lady, Chishalaka Tekas, is there's gender imbalance in all these appointments. Is this just being an oversight by the president, or he just finds himself in an awkward situation to find the right women, or is he just not gender sensitive? What is it?
Well, I think this issue of inclusivity is a very sensitive issue and very tricky issue. My argument on this issue is that to say, look, women, youths are even better off. But persons with disabilities are the worst considered in any. And very few people, including women, who agitate for the inclusion of persons with disabilities. And yet disabilities is all of us portion. We are all vulnerable to disability. Because even age, like Ambassador, now you are aging, it will be a disability very soon. And you need to be considered in one or the other. So we need to appreciate the fact that women have been put there. Some women at least have been put there. Some youths have been put there. The people that we need to fight for their space in governance are the persons with disability. I think there we can say maybe the president was not very sensitive.
Absolutely.
He would have there are a number of
among the positions of nomination.
Exactly. He would have put in one of the persons with disability to represent other persons with disabilities. But again, this issue of representation has got its own challenges. I know, I think it should be during Manawasa's time, there's one person with disabilities who was even given a position, I think, at FRI. And a number of them. The question that I always ask to myself is, how much they do for their fellow disabilities? Because if the issue is just to go there and amass wealth for myself and improve my life myself, then it becomes a problem. How many persons with disabilities are we seeing right now along Cairo Road, around Levmore, around all these malls? A lot of them. But every time we have ZAPID, that is Zambia Agents for Persons with Disabilities, we have also NGOs that are dealing with persons with disabilities. How are we not graduating those people into responsible citizens? So perhaps to me, my argument is that he was very sensitive with women. He was very sensitive with youth, but he was not sensitive with persons with disabilities.
Brilliant. One position, without the positions where questions were raised, one position, one appointment, which did not raise any negative issues, was the nomination of the Chief Justice in Justice Malila. A masterpiece appointment. Having said that, you and me cannot question that. The question I pose to you is, there have been concerns with the judiciary. What are your expectations once the Chief Justice has been ratified? How does it deal with most of these concerns of the judiciary? Cases taking long, some cases being prepared by outside lawyers, suspicion, perceived corruption in the judiciary. Your take on this? Well,
indeed, the appointment of Mumba Malila was not received with any mixed feelings. It was welcomed. But usually we are good at welcoming things, but we don't monitor how these people behave. For me, I've told people, you can be appointed. I may not congratulate you. I will congratulate you when I see that you are working. Then I'll say, oh, good, that was a very good appointment. So, Honorable Mumba Malila has got a mammoth task to meet the expectation of those who congratulated him, those who had faith in him, to see to it that the judiciary is reformed, especially in terms of dispensation of justice. I think the issue of you know, I think the president one time when he was inaugurating some people, he says, imagine there are people who have been in these correction centers for years without being taken to court.
Even when he was swearing
Exactly.
in, some permanent secretaries.
Exactly.
5, 6, 7 years.
Yes.
They've not been taken to court. Apart from that, the state of the cells, the prisons,
is pathetic.
It's inhuman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we expect that him having done human rights, okay, as one of the few lawyers who have done human rights, or few judges that have done human rights, who appreciate the role of human rights in justice, so that we see a decongestion of these correction facilities, especially those people who are just pushed in remand prison and they are never tried. Or the judges are always giving excuses. No, I'm in Livingstone. No, I'm in Ndola. No. I think that should come to an end. We expect that the Chief Justice must have authority over those judges. Secondly, we want to see a movement of, especially the Constitutional Court, when it comes to electoral matters. We have seen a situation in the past where the Constitutional Court will sit on an electoral matter for 5 years. And yet, they are aware, they are judges, they are learned people. They are aware that any election is time sensitive. You cannot keep a petitioner for 5 years and expect to deliver judgment in the 4th year and say, no, we have delivered justice. That's an academic. You have tortured that person who has petitioned. You have tortured that person who was petitioned, because there's a tenet. You know, like last week someone was calling me to say, they went to their MP, say, but why this is not being done? This MP was saying to say, look, I couldn't concentrate because I was being petitioned. So I didn't know whether I will survive or I will not survive. So my concentration was on my petition and not on you people. Have you seen? Now imagine this person is petitioned for 5 years. So we expect that the new Chief Justice will emphasize, actually should have a time frame. What we need now is that there could be an internal arrangement within the judiciary that anything to do with the election should be done within 180 days. Yeah. We know the fate of everybody. When it comes to these criminal matters, again, you cannot be called a criminal but you are in remand prison. Yeah. You haven't cleared yourself, but people will call you a criminal. You can build as many prisons as possible. As long as the justice system is slow, you will never decongest them. Absolutely. You will be removing people. How many times have we removed the prisoners from prisons? A number of times. Thousands have come out of the prisons, but we still talk about 23,000 in correction centers. That must come to an end. And we hope that Honorable Mumba Malira, as a human rights graduates, who appreciate that fact, and who continue to provide checks and balances on the and see. And also we have to know now to say, sometimes you have the president of the Constitutional Court. That needs to be changed. Where the president of the Constitutional Court and the president, the Chief Justice doesn't even, they don't know what he's doing there. I think that must be corrected, so that we have the head there. It should be clear. The head of the judiciary, who is the Chief Justice, the president of the Constitutional Court must report to them. Absolutely. And not otherwise.
Mcdonald, it's almost impossible to remove a judge, to retire a judge, to fire a judge, even those perceived to have done wrongs. How can this be addressed? Because somebody will be sitting there having done something wrong and say, I'm protected. Yeah. I can be removed. Should the Constitution be relooked at in terms of the tenure of judges, the conditions of judges, how they can be removed?
Yes, indeed. I think the issue of the removal of the judges has been a very thorny issue in the human rights advocates and also in the civil society arrangement. you remember that after the 2016 election, some of us petitioned some of the Constitutional Court judges, the way they handled the presidential petitions. But when we went there, the same judicial service, the Judicial Complaints Commission, it was the one in the forefront of labeling those who came there to be UPND cadres. People are seeking justice, regardless of whether they are cadres or not. They are citizens of this country. But they were being labeled, we hear you even wanted to stand. No, we hear that you are even a campaign manager. No, we hear, but what is wrong with that? Does it mean that a campaign manager of a political party should not go and seek justice? Or should not call for the removal of that judge because he misbehaved or she misbehaved? I think, to me, that was very, very wrong. And one thing that we need to deal with is the same Judicial Service Commission, Judicial Service, is it? Complaint Commission. Secondly is the Judicial Service Commission. Some of these people who are recommended to be judges don't qualify. Some, they have even difficulties to write judgments.
Absolutely, we understand some of the judgments now written by lawyers.
Yes. How do you expect justice like that? Because your opinion as a judge, we know that judgments are opinions. They are not 1 + 1 = 2. They are not definite. No. You can, the same case, one will say something else, the other one will say. So we will need reforms in the Judicial Service Commission. We will need reforms in the Judicial Complaint Commission, so that when a judge is found guilty or is found wanting, people can have confidence where they are taking their complaints to.
This is Frank On Camnet, discussing various governance issues with Mcdonald Chipenzi, Executive Director of a governance institution, organization called GEARS, and Mcdonald himself is an advocate of good governance. When we come back, we'll delve into some issues pertaining, yes, you guessed, corruption. Join us very shortly after this break.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
This is Frank On Camnet. My guest, Mcdonald Chipenzi, Executive Director of GEARS, a governance organization. Time to look at issues pertaining corruption. This government, Mcdonald, has set the standards high. They've declared zero corruption to zero corruption, as far as dealing with this is concerned.
Yeah.
Having said that, the president has been revealing some incredible stuff. 12 billion paid out to people not even qualified. Feeder roads are not facilitated. Fertilizer, millions of dollars paid out, only 63% delivered. What we're not seeing is follow-up action. Are people waiting for the president to instruct them? I thought these people should be jumping about and dealing with these issues, getting to the root of these situations.
Correct, Ambassador Mtuera. The president is doing incredibly well in releasing this information to the public. The public must know. I've argued with colleagues to say, look, people say he talks too much, he should act. I told them that even in the beginning, there was a word.
Yeah.
And it's that word that turned into action.
Absolutely.
You cannot start catching people like chickens without explaining why you are doing that. You'll be misunderstood. So when the president is giving these indicators, we expect now that the law enforcement agencies should move in. The president will not go and arrest a person who was given a contract to supply fertilizer.
No.
No. It is now the Anti-Corruption Commission, the police, or money launderers, and so on, to go there and start interview, to ask the president, can we have that information? We run with it. Because when the president speaks, it's policy. That is why you need a responsible president there. Because the moment you say, you kill those people, the army, the police have to move. Yeah. But now what we are seeing here is very, very frustrating. The president is giving out signals. There's nothing that is seen to be. Yeah. Others are saying, no, they are doing it quietly. How do you do quietly when there's a public announcement? At least announcing that we are following up what the president is saying. Yeah. So, like I have always argued to say, look, the fight against corruption is not only a criminal, corruption is not only a criminal matter. It is a political issue. More especially in a society or in a country where corrupt people are embraced, where families are happy with their corrupt members of their family, or communities are happy having a corrupt person. Even when they are building mansions acquired from corrupt money, they are happy. If it were those old days where when you are a thief, you don't stay in the village, we would have seen people, the army, the police, and all those anti-corruption rushing there to arrest those people. But they are being protected by the community who feel comfortable to enjoy and stay with the people, and they'll say, Bajani Bandalama. You don't even know how that money came about. There are some cadres that were even boasting, some MPs that were boasting, some junior ministers that were boasting that you are talking about 2 million. 2 million is what is changed from a shopping mall. The question is, how can someone who was using patapata or flip-flops just recently is now boasting over 2 million? That to me is where I have. This is why we expect that in as much as the president has got that vigor, that zeal to fight corruption, if his people are not supporting him, then this fight is doomed to fail.
Are you concerned that they may not be on the same page as the president?
From what we are seeing, it's like they are not on the same page. Actually, not even pages, chapters. The other one is already on chapter 5. The others, they are still looking for the Bible so that they go to the same chapter. Because imagine, if you have how many ministers? 32 ministers.
Yeah.
You have how many PSs now? You have how many DCs? You have how many council chairpersons around? If all of us were to stand up and start talking about corruption,
make it an agenda,
make it a national agenda, then the president will be helped. Before he is isolated as the only one who wants to make other people's lives very expensive, very hard, and very unbearable. So at the moment, the way things are moving, if the president does not work out a mechanism to ensure that his appointees also buy in the agenda of fighting corruption, even judges will start be acquitting this.
Absolutely.
And this is why you have seen now, those who were being accused of corruption are now turning around and suing.
Yeah.
There is some institutions that are supposed to fight corruption. At the end of the day, these institutions will now cost the government a lot of money.
Right. Let's look at somewhere where there's some bright light, and this is the controversial Forest 27, concentration of aqua, reservoir of lots of water, where the previous government decided, we're going to take over this forest and build mansions.
Yes.
The local government has moved in to start demolishing, some, structures.
Yes.
Already the former vice president is crying, foul. Your reaction to this?
Well, for me, I think, of course, there are legalities and illegalities in that Forest 27. For me, what is important now is that the tribunal that was petitioned by William Harrington and the group must be revived. We want to know first, even before those houses are demolished, we want to know how those plots were acquired.
Right.
And what necessitated the degassation of that forest. I think that was very important. We know that the late Chief Justice played games on the tribunal, on the petition to have the tribunal. Now that we have a new government, and that new government was also against the constructions there, we can now do a quick tribunal, constitute a tribunal, and start hearing what really transpired. Thereafter, we can even move and demolish whether people go to court or what, because we have established what transpired. Now, people want, I remember one of my lawyer, a good lawyer, a friend of mine, was saying, HH will pay heavily if he goes ahead and demolish those things. Okay? They are already warning. Why? Is because the tribunal has not been set out.
Absolutely.
Because that tribunal will help us to know whether what was happening there was legal or illegal. Okay? And then there is the environmental aspect of it. When we are given this land, we know that the land is invested in the presidency. And we are only having the surface rights. We don't have the underground rights. Now, if that is aquifer, okay, it is what holds the water table, the water tank for this area. The presidency, though the state has got the power to repossess it. So that, just the way we were talking about COVID, what is happening there is another COVID. It threatens the lives of thousands of people in Chongwe, in Lusaka. So why can't you, make sure that there's no access to that forest for now, so that those buildings are halted, and the government starts making modalities to recassette that place, so that we save the thousands or millions of people that will be affected by that forest, by destroying that forest 27.
Tell me, it's been reported, and I haven't confirmed this, it's the unconfirmed reports that the former vice president, is upset. And she says if the house is demolished, she spent over $1 million to buy land. We don't know how much she spent to build the house. That she will decampaign the president and this government in 2006. If those reports are true, is it morally maybe politically right? Is it morally right for the former vice president to say, this when she must have known that what their government was doing was wrong? And I'm saying these unconfirmed reports.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying, if it's true, is this morally, right?
Well, first and foremost, it's very, very disappointing that the vice president, who is about 80 years plus, could get entangled in such kind of a scandal. Okay? I mean, what doesn't she have? She has been in government before. The husband was in government before. Yeah. I think they are the ones who are running something. There's a lodge there along Great East Road. Yeah. They could have land in the Western Province and so on and so forth. Why getting land at 80 years old in a controversial land like Forest 27? I mean, to me, like the president, I heard him saying yesterday, is the challenge is that shame is not shared equally. So, because me, I would be ashamed, very much ashamed. At 80, I go in the forest and get land. Yet I have more land outside the forest and clean land for that matter. Getting entangled in that, to me, that was a problem. Secondly, I've seen that story, but I don't know how true it is, and I don't think it is true. Where they're saying that he will go to the royal establishment and report this is, in the first place, if it is true, to me, it doesn't hold any water. Because in 2021, Boy Inonge went in Western Province to campaign for the PF. I remember, I think it was in Naroro, where he says, this time around, give us a PF member so that you see development. Yeah. But what happened after the elections? Even with our own effort, some of the members of parliament that were UPND even supported and joined her in the campaigning of the UPND. But what came out? The entire province has no PFMP. Absolutely. No PFMP. So what will change in 2026 for people to support her? I mean, if it's true. When
she didn't get the support.
The support, even when she was energetic. Because in 2026, if God allows her to live there, she will even be almost crawling. Yeah. Right. So that on itself, I think it doesn't hold water. And if she does that, I don't think that the people of Western Province will definitely listen to her now over a personal matter when they have been crying for the Mongu, Kayoma Mongu Road, Katunda Mangango Rukuru Road. They have been crying for Kazungula Mwandi Sesheke Road. They have been crying for Mulobezi Road. How would they now be so concerned with a personal issue of a house? Absolutely. No.
Let's move to the economy. Obviously, the economy is the major governance issue of this government, and we all know the challenges that lie ahead and the challenges that are being faced by the people right now. I just want to plug in one issue, and this relates to whether there should be increase in prices of fuel and electricity. We've got conflicting stories. The governor of the central bank intimated about increase. The Minister of Finance did. The Vice President said, no, we're not going to increase. Later on, she says, no, we need to increase to decrease at a later stage. There's so many conflicts for me on an information side of it, so many conflicting stories. But the whole sphere, how should the UPND government, manage the issue of
I think the two sectors, the energy sector, that is the fuel and the electricity, which is the energy sector, is a very sensitive sector and is a political sector. Just like the fertilizer or the agriculture sector is also political because you touch the stomach of people. So to me, I don't think that it would be right for government to increase electricity. of fuel. Because
even when they say the government is losing $23 million
well,
a month.
I mean we are losing so much money.
Or is it because of the third parties?
Look, yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
And actually, I remember President HH in opposition.
Yeah.
He even made a calculation of how fuel can reduce, and remove middlemen and women. So that now you know the cost of fuel can be cheap. Secondly, is that we are talking of democratic dividends. What are those? Because from independence, the only people who have benefited from democratic dividends have been politicians. They have farms, they have mansions, they have what? Politicians. What about a common person? Every time the president has not much money in his pocket, he says, can we tighten our belt? Them, they are busy loosening their belts. I think that is called. How many politicians have come out of government slim? Very few. But how many people go into government slim? A lot of them. When they are coming out, they are fat, even very shiny ones for that matter. You know, we expect that at this point in time, 57 years of independence, dividends for our democracy must start accruing to the people. This is why we support the decentralization process, because it is going direct to the community. When you raise the electricity, it will mean that actually this time around, we expect that almost Zambians, right now as we are speaking, Ambassador, people along the Zambezi Valley, which is the Gwembe Valley, are complaining that we allowed the Kariba Dam to be constructed, but only less than 0.001% of the valley is electrified. And now you want to increase electricity tariffs. Those people will even fail to manage. So what we expect now is the reduction. The leak pipes, which the president has always mentioned. One, these allowances where a PS doesn't even attend a meeting, but will sign. By the end of the day, he's going with a 10,000. This meeting, and then they get the 10,000. Those are leak pipes, which once they are sealed, that money should go to subsidize the well-being of the Zambian people.
Tell me, Mcdonald, I'm not an expert in this particular field. I can only base it on what has been discussed at a higher level before. We've had presidents say they can buy, fuel, they can buy fertilizer directly from a particular country, government to government.
Yes.
Okay? At the same time, if you don't do that, we have a fertilizer, factory here, which can be financed, recapitalized. My question is, why can't somebody, a president, be bold enough and clear these, middlemen and explore the possibility of lessening the price of fuel, and buy of fertilizer and buy directly? I mean, what can they go that? Are these presidents quickly captured, or are these middlemen quickly now starting repositioning themselves? Why don't they do the good thing?
Exactly. I think that's a question that all of us are asking, because we don't learn as Zambians and maybe as Africans. You remember the days of UDI? Okay? That's how all these pipelines were being built, just to be fuel sufficient, and so on and so forth, trade sufficient, and so on and so forth. It's not that the UDI is gone. It may come again. Right now we are talking of COVID. Planes are grounded. Movement is restricted. What will happen when that time comes? Okay? Where are we going to get these things? So sometimes it's very important to plan in advance for any eventuality. So the issue of failing to deal with government to government, I think, must must be explained why.
It must be addressed.
Addressed, yes.
Yeah.
Why should we bring middlemen in the what? Government can still buy its own fuel and let those other companies do likewise on their own.
Absolutely.
Private, what is private? The private sector must be allowed to flourish. Yeah. Government also must be able to protect the sensitive sectors. All right? Protect it from vulnerability. Protect it from manipulation. Because what we are seeing now, because we have left electricity to manipulation of the private sector, we have left the energy sector to the manipulation of the private sector, then you are captured. They will even tell you, if you don't give us our money, we'll close the door.
Yeah, very serious.
And what happened now? Because now when they close the door, you are going to suffer. So you just say, no, continue. In the process, who suffer? Your term of 10 years coming to an end.
You've just made reference to COVID and the impact of COVID. And here we are, inaugurating Zambia Airways in the next, 2 days. I know these were signed before, but even things that have been done before, if they're going to cause you problems in
cancel
future,
them.
you can, cancel them.
Yeah.
Do we need Zambia Airways with? I've just seen the local planes. I mean, maybe they're sophisticated, but compared to where we're coming from, I mean, 737 we had, it was, doing, local routes, and we get that 126 planes that looks like they're from the ancient. I mean, really, is that development?
No.
Is that something, a partnership we can go in, a partnership that has failed in other countries? In Malawi, that partnership has failed.
Yeah, I remember.
Why are we embracing something that is going to cause us problems down the line?
Exactly, Ambassador Mtuira. It's very sad that we get engaged in things that at the end of the day will not even add value to the lives of an ordinary. It's only meant for the elites. Again, even the elites, how long has Zambian Airways been down? Many
30 years.
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have we had problems?
Have we had problems to travel? The answer is no. So why should we, concentrate on such? And when I was reading someone, I don't know how true it is, on social media, say now, government will have 51%. The Ethiopians will have 49%. Government has committed, was it $4.5 million US? And then government will be paying $80,000 per month to the Ethiopian government for whatever. Why do we have to spend money when we have had no problems or complaints about having no airline, and yet we have so many complaints in the agriculture sector, in the energy sector? Those to me are supposed to be the ones we are concentrating on. As we have put it, the new government has come. I remember Mr. Sata, when he came into power, he found a map, a plan of a new state house. What did he say? No.
It's not a priority.
It's not a priority. Leave it. I think was it Mr. Lungu wanted to revive it. People opposed it.
I think it would be a band.
People opposed it. There's no need for a new state house. Now, this is where we expect the new government now not to start falling in the traps that were set by the previous government. That's the Zambia Airways issue. It will not add value other than milking the country of the much needed resource to bring dividends to the ordinary Zambian people. We have issues of bursaries for our students. All that $4.5 million US that will be going to the airline, if you pump it for bursaries, no Zambian grade 12 leaver who fail to go to the university.
So, and you're investing for the future.
You are investing in the future. That one, what investment are you getting? Are you going to get? There will be people who will be employed, or thousands of them. But if that thing will not bring profit, those people will be jobless within a week.
And the projections don't look good for the airline sector.
I mean, look at South Africa. South Africa, its airline has been bailed out several times. I don't know whether this time they are going to, they'll just leave it.
We never learn. We never
Exactly.
learn. Let's look at something which looks good if managed, properly. The CDF.
Yeah.
Where do you see this money being invested, in which sectors, to improve the living standards of the people, especially those in the rural areas?
Exactly. I think this money is very important money. And I think the president was on spot to emphasize more that we are moving money from the corrupt in Lusaka to you, who we assume they are not corrupt. But with the levels, the spread of corruption, more than COVID itself, where everyone wants to get a share of this money, if not properly managed and properly policed, you have challenges in achieving what this money is intended to do. One is for the people outside there to benefit. I think there's more emphasis on skill development, because if, for example, people know how to make tables, chairs, beds, you empower the local there.
Absolutely.
And people will not be coming to Lusaka to buy a bed, to buy a sofa, to buy what, things will be done locally. If you talk about, welding and so on and so forth, again, that will improve the lives out there. People will not come here to buy window frames, door frames, and so on. And this is why, in this case, if there's a way also to ensure that electricity is connected, or if it means solar is connected, so that some of these things will need electricity. And that's why we don't need the tariff increase, because it will be, we have sent money there, but again that money will go to paying electricity. What have you done? Nothing. So we need skill development for this CDF. Of course, there will be other, like constructing roads, or is it to my bridges, culverts. They will also create some kind of employment. But the key thing is that those people that will be given these jobs should not be like what the president was saying recently, to say even people without wheelbarrows were given 20%. And it will be common in the rural area, where because I'm a cadre of the ruling party, and this they are saying form cooperatives. And those cooperatives that are formed, some of them are formed by political party cadres. So because I'm a cadre, I'll be given a contract. 1 million contract, down payment 20%, 20% of 1 million, maybe it's 200,000 kwacha. I use that money, I run away. So we need a lot of mechanisms. And from now up to January, we expect that government should come up with comprehensive mechanisms which are consultative also, so that we don't miss out this opportunity. The president is doing goodwill to all of us. And therefore, this goodwill must not be messed up by our appetite to abuse public money. And there's this notion to say this is public money. The way we look at this in Chipenzi, I think that should come to an end. And the president should also emphasize, nothing is for Boma. Boma is you. If you mess up, you have messed your life and the life of your children and your grandchildren, and will not leave you untouched.
This is Frank on Camnet. I'm discussing governance issues with Mcdonald Chipenzi, Executive Director of a governance organization called Gears. We'll take our final break and we'll come back in the last 10 minutes and to look at nullifications and the assessment of the 100 days of UPND government. Join us very shortly.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
We celebrate for all you've done, Lord. We give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate. Oh, for all you've done, Lord. We give you all the praise.
Welcome back. This is Frank on Camnet, our last part of our discussion, on governance issues with Mcdonald Chipenzi. The nullifications, legally right, but unprecedented, many. Does this say something about how the elections were managed?
Correct. Actually, this is unprecedented. From the time we got independence or the time we started voting, this is the most petitioned election. And the interesting aspect is that the petitioning were at community level. That is at ward, district, and constituency level. At presidential, there has been no petition for the first time.
Yeah.
So that in itself shows you how corruption was entertained at community level. And when you read all the petitions, they are citing violence, bribery, vote buying, corruption, and hate speech. 5 main ones. You can just average. This is what. So it shows that, one, people are now enlightened on their rights, the legal rights, that you can sort out a conflict through the courts. And this is why we expect the courts to be more expeditious and more accountable of what they are doing with these issues. 2, it is also a sign that people are avoiding violence to go to peaceful means of resolving their issues. The third aspect is that these nullifications are telling us that these elections were not properly managed in terms of enforcing the law. Because all these things that are being mentioned here, violence, bribery, vote buying, hate speech, are all contained not only in the subsidiary laws, they are also contained in the Constitution. If you read Article 45 of our Constitution, it says that the principles of the electoral process and the electoral system, there should be no corruption. They should be transparent and accountable. No violence, and so on. Those are the principles. So then when you read the electoral code itself, it gives the do's and the don'ts. But because we were lenient enough to allow people to do, I was very shocked where the commission calls somebody, invites somebody to say, come, you are doing hate speech, and we are suspending you for 3 days or 6 days, or indefinitely. The person, after leaving the office of the commission, says, I will not apologize for my hate speech, for my tribal speech. I will not. And this person is allowed to go. To me, that was failure of the system. And these nullifications, of course, to some extent, we have more petitions. Actually, from some data I have to confirm, but there are more than there were more than 200 petitions. Yeah. 400. Someone was saying about 400. Now, the notification rate is low because we only have about 8 at parliamentary level. 8 notifications out of maybe 100 or so petitions. So in itself is good, but that does not mean that violence, corruption, vote buying was not happening. Yeah. What is the problem now is Section 97 of the Electoral Process Act, which insulates corruption, bribery, hate speech, because it says that unless the evidence we are giving is directly linked to the candidate or the agent. If it's just like people were just making, whether they were wearing whatever, those people, the candidate may deny them. So you need to prove. That law must change. And this is why we support the action taken by some people to go to court to quash that law, because it's unconstitutional. Absolutely. It is against the constitution that says no violence, no corruption in the electoral process. I think that is where the problem is. But at the end of the day, these notifications are telling us a lesson. In future, if we are not careful, you will find that the entire election from ward to presidential level has been petitioned.
2 issues here. You know, I know it's a legal right, but these elections, by-elections, are going to be very expensive at a time when we can save money, although it's a legal right. The other side of the story is that UPND can win most of these and achieve the 2/3 majority in parliament, and that will impact democracy. It will mean UPND can go out there and make any law that they feel, like. Your quick thoughts on this?
Well, yes, that is very possible if at all the Constitutional Court will uphold most of these the decisions that were made, especially on the 8th, the decision made by the High Court. Yeah, but at the same time, we've said also to say the law is very clear that even those who lost a petition can still appeal to the Constitutional Court. For example, you petitioned me, I'm the winner, and you lost it. You are free to go and appeal to say the High Court misled itself to have upheld this election because of ABCD. Yes, the issue of majority in Parliament is possible if the by-elections are held. But at the end of the day, notifications, like we've said before, is a way, petitions actually is a way of dealing with malpractices in the electoral process. If we fail to petition malpractices, then we'll continue to entertain malpractices. And that's why from where I stand, I support petitions. I support notifications because it helps us to clean the system out. And we want actually to say the notifications should even extend to disqualifying that person. Because as it is now, a person who was even found engaging in violence, in corruption, can still contest an election, a by-election. The only person who is disqualified is one who is found that he has no grade 12. Because that is a disqualification in the first place by Article 70 of our Constitution. So what we expect, what I'm saying here is that notification are what do you call them? You say it's a necessity evil, a necessary evil.
Unnecessary evil. In
order to clean the electoral process of corruption. If there's any sector in the governance sector which has entertained corruption, bribery, violence, hate speech, discrimination, is the electoral process, and we need to do away with that.
2 questions before we wind up. 100 days of UPND governance in this country. Your quick summary of how they've performed, and most important question, okay? For me, I don't mind whether a good government stays for 2 terms, as long as it's delivering. How can we help this government govern? By we, I mean churches, I mean opposition parties, I mean the private sector, I mean the media, I mean NGOs like you, and the people at large.
Thank you so much. The 100 days, which some people have already concluded that from the 100 days, this government will be a one-term government.
Yamana. Yamana.
Yamana.
Yeah.
Is that from a governance point of view, I think they have done a tremendous job. In the sense that today, I was just watching one of the, or when someone sent a picture to say there were people who were demonstrating over the sale of Mnyaole market. That is a plus. That was unheard of. When people demonstrate, they are sending a signal that they have freedom of demonstration, freedom of expression, freedom of association. That is good. That was with this COVID-19, those people would not have been allowed. Two, you had the cadres harassing almost everybody. Today, you are free to go in the market and come out in the market. You are free to drive and stop at any bus stop. If you want to pick somebody, you are free to pick somebody without anyone harassing you. To me, that is a good thing. There has been a talk, although it's now in the rhetoric form, about the corruption. Corruption and abuse and so on and so forth. To me, those are things. And there's been an emphasis from the president about accountability and transparency. That is very good. There has been an issue of taking power to the people through decentralization. And that is not only political power, but also financial power. And this financial power is in respect of political dominance. In Wapula, in Muchinga, everyone will receive that 25. That was unheard of. You heard, I think the Minister of Local Government were saying, some provinces had even 0-0 allocation. To me, on the part of governance, I think they have done a better job. Where we could have been problems is one, the economic aspect. Because people are still not yet employed. People, the youth are still expecting, and there seem to have no direction. Because at this point in time, all these ministers should have been giving direction of where their ministries are going.
Absolutely.
But nothing. You go to the youth ministry, you don't know where they are going. Whether they are going, or they are stagnant. Ministry of Education, other than announcing by the president that they will employ so many teachers, nothing. So we expect that the ministers that have been given this mandate should start giving direction of where this country is being taken. The Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Small Scale, whatever, all those things should now, we should be knowing where the direction we are going. That is where I have a problem. And when it comes to fight against corruption, again you see that there's only one man. It's a one-man show. The president has been talking this. Others are quiet, as if they don't see corruption, as if in their own ministries there was no corruption. And yet we are saying the whole government, the PF government, was corrupt. Now, if in your ministry you cannot unearth these things, why are you accusing these people of being corrupt? So, to me, that is where the problem. But anything to do with a budget, we want to assess them when they start implementing their budget in January. That is why even the 25.7 million, before, even 1.6 million that was given to CDF, some constituents were not receiving.
Absolutely.
So if the government will give this money at a go to all constituencies, all districts,
make a positive change.
It will make a positive change, and that will be fulfilling what people have been doubting. Now, the term issue, I've told people it's very early. It's like Ambassador Mtuvila. Today I want to marry, and I marry a woman who has a small baby, just gave birth maybe a month ago. I marry. You know, there are people who marry like that. And then you start counting to say you married last month, and you haven't impregnated this person. So you are important. Is that a fair assessment? The answer is no. This government has not yet implemented this budget.
Absolutely.
All these other things, Malays, let's hold them. Maybe in the next 2.5 years, even 2 years, we'll be able to say, oh, there is the direction. I think now they have failed. Because now, at that time, you would have weaned the baby that you found. And then you will see to say, maybe that time we were afraid to say, if you are impregnated, what about this baby? I don't have the money to be giving her milk and so eat milk. So to me, that is where we are. We have a government that married a woman who has a lactating woman who has a small baby. Once that baby is weaned, we'll see whether they will produce, so that they will not hide behind to say, look, I found an empty purse, there was corruption, there's what? Because now, from now on, they will be collecting their own money, and how they use that money will determine their success.
Finally, and briefly, on a lighter note, a serious note, whichever angle you look at it, 100 days down the line, the president is still not sleeping in State House. Is that an issue?
Actually, if I had my way, Ambassador Frank, I would actually make the law that president should not be sleeping at State House.
Okay.
It should be a workplace.
Okay.
So that everybody reports. And that's the way you also judge how serious a president is.
Whether they report.
Yes, what they report, what time they report. Because when they're staying in State House, they will be sleeping up to 12 hours. No, the president is busy, the president is busy.
And they is sleeping.
Yes, and also would have removed this notion of, say, a president leaves the State House, I don't have a house. Okay? Would have removed this. Would have removed this issue of saying, look after me, because I was in State House, that was my house, now I don't have. You will find a former president being, being rented a house from State House. Why? It's because they were so comfortable not knowing that they will leave this office. So if there was a way, and if it was security okay, I would actually propose that presidents, just like ministers, report. That one should be an office, not a residential for people to sleep. Let them build their own house so that even when you lose elections, you don't have difficulties. You just go there and hand over the office and continue living.
Brilliant. Time to vacate, this office here. We have to vacate this office now. We've done our work. Thank you very much, for watching, and I hope you did pick up some valuable, stuff, from my interview with Mcdonald Chipenzi, who is Executive Director of GEARS, a good governance, organization. I'd like to thank, my crew here, Isaac, the team, and of course, Pastor Chiluba and Mrs. Chiluba, Executive, Directors. On behalf of my guest, Mcdonald Chipenzi, I'm Frank Mutabilan. As always, I remind you, do your very best, and God will do the rest. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and good night.
And go for vaccination.
Yes.
Thank you.